It's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, on top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
Good to be back on Manic Monday, your favorite sports show, ZiFM Sport. Good evening, Zimbabwe, and welcome to it after an exciting weekend in the world of sport, local as well as international, that was headlined by El Clasico at the Camp Nou as Real Madrid beat Barcelona 3-1. That is our headline match in the Castle Lava World Football Report that comes up in the second half of the show. But before we get there, we got plenty of news, plenty of meat on the bone, as it were, as we'll pick up part news on the home front as well as international sports news. And with me to do that is our producer, Sean Tafidenyika, Christine Midzi, Alois Munjira, and Barry Manandi. My name, of course, is Mike Madoda. Zimbabwe coach, that is the Warriors head coach, Zdravko Logarušić, is insisting he'll give priority to players committed to the Warriors cause amid indications there is friction between the gaffer and some of the United Kingdom-born players, popularly known as the British Brigade. So it looks like not everything is okay with the coach and some of his players. Will hear the comments of Alois Munjira on that hot and topical issue. And then in our international sports news segment, we take a look at the IPL, that's cricket action for you, where England's Ben Stokes smashed an unbeaten 107 to keep the Rajastan Royals in the chase for the Indian Premier League playoffs after their 8-wicket win over the holders of Mumbai Indians, effectively knocked out the Chennai Super Kings out of playoff contention.
We'll take you around the world in 60, beginning in California, where Patrick Cantlay upstaged John Rahm and Justin Thomas as a final round 65 earned him a one-shot win at the Zozo Championship. In Dublin, Ireland scored 7 tries and 50 points to move to the top of the 2026 Nations table with a bonus point win over Italy, but the late concession of a try could hurt their title chances. And in Portimao, Lewis Hamilton won for a record-breaking 92nd time in Formula One to become the driver with the most race wins in history at the Portuguese Grand Prix.
We'll take in our Manic Monday play of the day. Then it's time for the Castle Lager World Football Report. We kick off on the continent where Mamelodi Sundowns co-coach Manqoba Mniti felt his side could have scored more goals against Kaizer Chiefs following their 3-0 victory. 1 goal for each of their coaches. In La Liga, Zinedine Zidane insisted he was unfazed about silencing Real Madrid's critics after recording a 3-1 Clasico win over Barcelona. In the Premier League, Jamie Vardy came off the bench to net a late winner for Leicester as Arsenal were unable to break down Brendan Rodgers' organised side. And we'll look back at the weekend's action in the Bundesliga and Serie A. All of that and so much more to look forward to on this edition of ZiFM Sport. It is indeed Manic Monday. And we mourn with the family of Calvin. We woke up to the news that one of our great rappers, up-and-coming rappers, had tragically passed away in Bulawayo. This is his track featuring Casper Nyovest. It's called Skopani.
The Warriors, the Chevrons, the Cheetahs, the Mighty Warriors, and the Sables. From the pool to the track to the field, we are Team Zimbabwe. The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
Lots and lots of topical issues to get through on today's show. So would love to hear from you on social media. Follow and interact with us on Twitter at ZiFM Sport. If you know someone who's going to miss the show but wants to listen in later, they can also find us on YouTube. Now, Zimbabwe coach Zdravko Logarušić is insisting he'll give priority to players committed to the Warriors cause amid indications, worryingly, that there is friction between the gaffer and some of the United Kingdom-born players that are popularly known as the British Brigade. The Croat said he spent the last few weeks having one-on-one discussions with the players he's targeting to use for the back-to-back Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers against continental champions Algeria next month. Although Logarušić has refused to reveal the name of the players whose commitment he is questioning, sources say that one of them is Queen's Park Rangers forward Macaulay Vaughan. Now, this is an issue which has divided a lot of football fans. There are some out there who feel that we can go it alone and achieve success as Zimbabwe without calling on some of these foreign-based players, as it were, who have no local affiliations. And then there are those who are saying that for Zimbabwe to take the next step, for Zimbabwe to qualify for tournaments as big as the World Cup and possibly go to the Olympics when you're taking a look at the under-23 level, is for us to harness anyone who can hold a Zimbabwean passport. I want to come to you, Alois, on this very contentious issue that has divided Zimbabwe football fans and ask you, on which side of the fence do you sit?
Mike, I've never hidden the fact that I am on the other side of those that are saying we need these boys. You know, we there are times when we say we get emotional and say, yeah, we can do without it. You know those kind of issues. I was not even serious anyway. You know those. We don't need to bring that to football. That kind of attitude. Look at what other nations have done that have been successful. They have gone out to look for these boys with offers to these boys and promises, but you know what, we are going to do this, we are going to do this, you are going to be well accommodated, you need to convince these boys. It's not an issue of patriotism. Like everybody knows, these boys are not connected to Zimbabwe. They never played Zimbabwe, so they don't have the patriotism that we ask them to have. They grew up in Europe, they don't know. So we need to actually go there with a proposal, with an offer. This is what we are going to do. This is what we do, ABC. My attitude, national team cap, it doesn't really work. Look at Wilfred Zaha, what Ivory Coast did. They spent many years trying to entice Wilfred Zaha to come to play for Ivory Coast. Wilfred Zaha even played friendly matches for England. And they kept on pursuing because they still knew that he only played friendly matches. He was still eligible. They kept on going for him. Nigeria did the same. What did they do with Enehacho? They kept on pressing, visiting his parents, trying to convince his parents. What did they do with Tammy Abraham? They tried all the way to the last minute until he was given caps by England, but they kept on pushing. But for us, we can do it alone. What does that do to him as Macaulay Vaughan, as the other boys that are playing? We need to show that we value them. We need them so that they can actually feel that special, or they can feel that, you know what, I can actually go and do a job for this country because they want me. So we need to change that kind of attitude and go and entice these boys.
Chris, I want to come to you and listen from the marketing side of things, because you did a very fascinating thread. Anyone who's on Twitter, you need to go and read that thread on mentorship. Zimbabwe, that's the Twitter handle, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, it's at Mentorship Zim.
Yeah, at Mentorship Zim, where you did a fascinating thread on sports marketing. Now, could this be a classic case, Chris, of ZIFA failing to sell Zimbabwe, failing to sell the project to these foreign-based players? Because if it's not attractive, if it's not sold well enough, they're not going to come.
100%. And the issue comes from let's start with just the communications. Any communications coming out of ZIFA at the moment are not necessarily positive. If Loga's coming out to make these kind of statements in public, one, you've got a problem. Second thing is, from an operational perspective, even if you can try to have proper communications, the way ZIFA is being run at the moment and the shambles that we see around the national team itself will not sell. The product itself has got issues. So until they sort out the product itself and also the communications, and then package it and make it an attractive proposition for someone like Macaulay Vaughan, who's going to want to actually come and be part of either a cause or however they pitch it, But the first and most important thing is that they need to sort out the product. The product of Zimbabwe football itself, it needs to be packaged and it needs to be treated with the utmost respect from the administrators themselves.
And now Logarušić is reported to have spoken not just to Macaulay Bonner, who is of course a former Charlton Athletics striker now playing for Queen's Park Rangers. He's supposed to have spoken to Nottingham Forest defender Tendai Darikwa, who's been a regular for the Warriors when he's been fit, Reading player, Andy Rinomo, Takundai Benyu, who plays for Wilston, Adam Chickson, who's at Notts County, and Jordan Zemura, who is at Bournemouth. A few issues to sort out with Zemura, but Zemura looks like Barry is interested in playing for Zimbabwe. So those are the players that Logarušić is reported to have spoken to. But the issue around Macaulay Bone is giving him headaches. Now, Barry, what would you sell? If you were the FIFA chairman, if you were Logarušić, what would you be saying to Macaulay Bone? Because it looks like whatever Logarušić has said is not good enough to convince Macaulay Bone to commit to the Warriors course.
Well, firstly, Mike, I think that, look, Loga in himself has done a good job of trying to convince these players, but perhaps he's the wrong level in terms of getting these guys on board. Firstly, I think that the president of the federation should be the one to make these calls because we need these boys. He's the one who needs to contact them and sell the vision. Rather than Loga, and in his statement, you can tell that Loga is basically beating them over the head with a stick because they have expressed themselves.
Can I come in there and ask you this? Are you talking about Felton Kamambo, the same Felton Kamambo? Have you ever been to a press conference where Felton Kamambo is speaking? and you expect that man to sell the vision of ZiFM, to sell the football project that is the Warriors? He's a Felton Kamambo.
But my daughter, you need to be look, Mike. You said that if I was the president of the federation, so I'm telling you what I would do if I was president of the federation.
Okay, that makes sense because Felton Mambo would probably need to go with Polisani Gwesela, who's very verbose. Would be able to use all the big words in the Oxford Dictionary. But go on, Barry, go on.
I truly believe that Alois is spot on. These guys have no affinity to the country, so you can't preach patriotism. What you need to do is, rather than appeal to their minds, you've got to appeal to their hearts, win their hearts over. And so sell the project. Sell the fact that Zimbabwe actually wants to make a fist of qualifying for the World Cup, and they are a critical component of getting that done. That's what players want to hear. Players want accolades. They want to run to try and get into a World Cup. If Qatar 2022 is a possibility, sell that to them, and believe me, they will come.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I will side with you, Barry, when it comes to that, because what makes it easier for, let's say, nations like the Ivory Coast, Nigeria, Cameroon, Ghana, and the North Africans, Algeria, Morocco, and Egypt, to convince some of their players who have got African parentage to turn out for their thing, for the motherland, is that they've got realistic prospects of qualifying for the World Cup. You know, Ivory Coast and Nigeria have been regular features at that tournament now for the last 1.5 decades. And that is where the challenge is for Zimbabwe. It can't be that we're selling AFCON, because any one of 16 to 24 nations in Africa qualify for AFCON on a regular basis. It has to be trying to sell a project that convinces Macaulay Bone that, listen, we've got a core of about 8 or so really good players. We've got Teenage Hadebe, who's one of the best defenders in Turkey. We've got Knowledge Musona, who's playing in Belgium. We've got Kamabiliat out in South Africa, skillful player. We've got capable players that we've got. We've got Tinotinda Kadewere playing at Lyon. We've got Marshall Munetsi playing again in Ligue 1. We've got Marvelous Nakamba, who you know is playing in the English Premier League. When you start speaking like that, it starts to make sense, and you tell it that, you know what, we need you to show up the numbers so that we can qualify for the World Cup. I think that becomes a sellable project, you know, because qualifying for AFCON for me is not going to be attractive for a player who's already at QPR. That would be attractive for someone, for example, like a Peter Mudua, who sees AFCON as an opportunity for him to get scouted so that he can play in Tanzania or in South Africa.
Yeah, Mike, also what Zipa don't realize is that you need to play with emotions. We need to play with the seniority of the players that we have got. Look at Ivory Coast. When they wanted Wilfred Zaha, they went for Didier Drogba to go and talk to Wilfred Zaha, because they knew that Wilfred Zaha respects Didier Drogba. So that's what we also need to do. That we need to have players like Peter Ndlovu, Benjani Mwaruwaru, Bruce Grobler to go and talk to these boys. Bruce Grobler made the switch. He came to play for Zimbabwe. You need to sit with this boy and say, this is what I also did. I did A, B, C, and I had so much fun with the dream team, and sell that to them. That's the idea that they need also to, but our Zimbabwean Football Association, they always want to do it alone. You were laughing at Kamambo. I don't see Kamambo going to England to convince Wilfred Bony or Zemura and all that, because you can actually see that he is not that kind of person. So we need to be innovative and creative and to see what works for us so that we can get we really need these boys. Also, let's be honest, these boys also need Zimbabwe. So it's a 50-50 situation. That's what we also need to sell to them, that you also need Zimbabwe, but they need to be convinced.
A very contentious issue, this one, and I'm sure it's going to be debated loud and long, especially in the different watering holes that you love to frequent and enjoy your Castle Lager. Just a reminder, we got the Castle Lager World Football Report in the second half of the show, El Clasico, as well as that opening DSTV Premiership encounter between champions Mamelodi Sundowns and Kaizer Chiefs. We'll be discussing that one in the company of Alois Bunjira right here on your favorite sports show. Before we get there, we got a local sports news roundup, cricket, basketball and boxing, and then we go international with our sports news. We're off to the UAE IPL action.
Hi, I'm Warrios coach Zdravko Logarušić, and you are listening to ZiFM Sport.
Sports with a difference.
Let's get straight into it, starting with cricket, where Zimbabwe all-rounder Sikandar Raza has expressed his delight at facing Pakistan in the upcoming limited over series in Rawalpindi that he has branded as special. With the first of 3 one-day internationals between the two sides coming more than 7 months since Zimbabwe last played an international match due to the COVID-19 pandemic, his excitement is understandable. The 34-year-old all-rounder has an extra incentive to do well in the series. Pakistan is his country of birth, having been born in the city of Sialkot before emigrating to Zimbabwe in 2001 with his family. On to basketball news. The Basketball Union of Zimbabwe had to cancel their intended trip to Cameroon after failing to get government clearance through the Sports and Recreation Commission to train and play games as they prepare for continental meet. Now, Zimbabwe were scheduled to participate at the AfroBasket 2021 qualifying rounds in Cameroon, where they would have joined the hosts Cape Verde, Chad and South Sudan as the competition dubbed Wild Card Tournament. Buzz President Joe Mujuru said they had to abort planning for the West African trip after failing to get the necessary clearance. To wrap it up with boxing news, where former Zimbabwe amateur boxing champion Jonas John has called on stakeholders to take drastic measures to develop the sport. John noted that the sport will continue to sink if no radical measures are taken. The Mbare-born and bred 52-year-old believes that the lack of grassroots development programs has stalled the growth of sport. Isn't that true across Zimbabwean sport?
Hi, this is Mike Madoda, and you can catch me and the team for all the latest breaking news out of the world of sport, local as well as international, on your favorite station, my station, your station, ZiFM. We are Z-Team on ZiFM Sport.
Z. From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
As previously advertised by Mr. Madoda, we're in the UAE for our international sports news, talking IPL, where England's Ben Stokes smashed an unbeaten 107 to keep Rajastan Royals in the chase for Indian Premier League playoffs after their 8-wicket win over holders Mumbai Indians. The win for Steve Smith's Royals knocked the Mahendra Singh Dhoni-led Chennai Super Kings out of the Final Four race despite their win over Royal Challengers Bangalore in the first match of the day. Let's give you the scorecard. The Mumbai Indians batting first, putting up 195 for the loss of 5 wickets. Hardik with an unbeaten 60. Yadav scoring 40. Gopal taking 2 for 30. Rajasthan Royals, I would like to say, making light work of the chase. 196 for the loss of 2 wickets. Ben Stokes, the tormentor-in-chief, an unbeaten 107, and Samson scoring 54, also not out. Pattinson taking 2 for 40, meaning that the Rajastan Royals won by 8 wickets. Let's hear from Mumbai Indians all-rounder Hardik Pandya, who shed light on his blistering knock and the match-winning partnership of Ben Stokes and Sanju Samson.
Obviously, hitting sixes is fun, which I enjoyed, and I thought we got enough runs. We were looking to initially we were looking when I batted, when the second strategic timeout happened, we were looking more at 165 to 170, and obviously we got 25 runs more, which I thought was enough. But credit goes to Stokes and Sanju; they really batted well.
Now that's great for Ben Stokes, Mikey, and we truly applaud that effort. But sadly, the real story coming out of a match that was played earlier on in the day, where the Chennai Super Kings, although they got a victory, are now definitely out of the playoff race for the first time ever in this competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Barry, that's primarily because they are big-time players. The guys who have carried the franchise over the last few years haven't come to the party. There's a lot of speculation around whether the pitches out in the United Emirates suit the Chennai Super Kings and their game, because some of their key players, their key bowlers have looked ineffective on the decks out in the Middle East. But that's a story that we can debate loud and long, because all the other teams are playing on similar surfaces, and all other teams are not from the United Arab Emirates. They are from the Indian subcontinent. So let's go to the performances of their players. I think they got an aging squad that's led by one of the aging all-stars of world cricket, that's MS Dhoni. Listen, and if you take a look at this victory, Barry, that they had this past weekend, I think his performance is really emblematic of where he is right now in terms of his game. They won that game. He comes in, and I think he scored, was it about 20 runs, but at less than run a ball. So this is not the same as MS Dhoni that we were seeing 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. The same MS Dhoni from 22 balls would have been scoring 40. From 22 balls would have been scoring a half century, would have been scoring 35, 36, would have been having a strike rate of 140, 150, 180, at times 200. So he's not performing with the bat. And can he carry on being selected on the basis of his name and on the basis of his leadership qualities and on the basis of his wicket keeping, which remains at a sufficiently high level? That's a question that CSK will need perhaps to answer if they are to remain as challengers in this tournament. It doesn't help that his other, should I say, teammates like Shane Watson, Ravindra Jadeja as well, are all in their mid-30s now. They're not getting any younger. When you take a look at the young guys that have come in, Ngidi, etc., those guys are inexperienced. Ngidi is not a guy who's a veteran of the IPL, and now he's sort of like making his bow out in the United Arab Emirates. So it's very different. He's going to grow into the tournament, and I think we can only really judge him when he goes over to the Indian subcontinent and the IPL returns perhaps to India next year. But I think right now, the likes of Shane Watson, I think it's time perhaps he moved upstairs. He's no longer as effective as he was, and they need to bring in another star performer. MS Dhoni himself, his place is under scrutiny. But he's come out in the press and he's been very upfront about the fact that he's looking forward to playing next season. And so with the respect that he accords, that he gets in Indian cricket, he's likely to be given that opportunity to perhaps have his swan song on home soil. So he's going to be there, but they need another star performer in that side. So they may have to bid big when the next auction rolls around.
Mike, they're talking about Lungi Ngidi, obviously one of the star turns coming out of South Africa. The other one, of course, is KG Rabada. And we look at the metrics for the best performing players in the IPL. The most wickets taken, KG Rabada, who plays for the Delhi Capitals, sitting right on top of that, Chris. 23 wickets taken in 11 games. He's absolutely been brilliant in this edition.
He's been brilliant in this edition. He's continued to shine. I think he's really, first of all, grown as a player. He's going to be an asset for South Africa, definitely, continuously. But I think especially in this tournament, we've seen him come to the party repeatedly. And obviously, as a result of that, he has the most wickets haul. So, yeah, incredible player.
Incredible player indeed. Let's look at those that table for the most wickets taken. In second, of course, Jofra Archer. He's taken 17 wickets. He's played 12 matches. Jasprit Bumrah is in third, having taken 17 wickets, equal number with Jofra Archer. And then in fourth is Mohammad Ashami, who's also taken 17 wickets. Yojendra Chahal has taken 16 wickets in the 11 matches in which he's performed. Let's go to the batting stats. Most runs, KL Rahul of Kings 11 Punjab, a team that is resurgent, Michael, a team that boasts the talents of Chris Gayle, but KL Rahul has been the star turn this edition.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been fantastic right at the top of the order. So he sets the tone for the team. And if you take a look at their last 5 matches, Barry, they lost the match they played 5 matches ago, but they're on a 4-match winning streak. And so they have the form. And I think they're actually the form side in the tournament. And they carry on winning in the manner that they are. They've got an outside chance of gate crashing into the playoff position because they're just 2 points behind the Kolkata Knight Riders, who are sitting in 4th place. And so they will be very confident that in the last week of the tournament that they can qualify for the knockout phase.
All right, and talking about that knockout phase, those 4 positions currently occupied by table toppers Mumbai Indians, in second Delhi Capitals, in third Royal Challengers Bangalore, and in fourth Kolkata Knight Riders. Knocking on the door to make it into the playoffs now is Kings 11 Punjab, who had a wretched time to start off with, but as Mike pointed out, they've corrected their ways and look odds on to make a final burst for that playoff position. In sixth position is the Rajastan Royals, and then it's Sunrisers Hyderabad and Chennai Super Kings are at the base of the IPL table.
Hi, my name is Sean Williams, Zimbabwe cricket captain. You're listening to ZiFM Sport. Z.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
Around the World in 60 is proudly brought to you by DSTV. We begin in California, where Patrick Cantlay upstaged John Rahm and Justin Thomas as a final round 65 earned him a one-shot win at the Zozo Championship. The final day at Sherwood Country Club was billed as a head-to-head shootout between world number 3 and overnight leader Thomas against world number 2 Rahm, but it was Cantlay who prevailed as the star final pair faltered over the back 9. We'll head over to Dublin, where Ireland scored 7 tries and 50 points to move to the top of the 2020 Six Nations table with a bonus point win over Italy, but the late concession of a try could hurt their title chances. Debutant wing Hugo Keenan scored 2 tries, while fellow debutant Will Connors scored a try and earned the man of the match for an all-action display in defence and at the breakdown in the 50-17 victory. We'll touch down in Portimao, where Lewis Hamilton won for a record-breaking 92nd time in Formula One to become the driver with the most race wins in history at the Portuguese Grand Prix, 2 weeks after equaling the huge haul of 91 wins set by Michael Schumacher in 2006. Hamilton now holds the prestigious record outright with a victory that moves him potentially just 2 more races away from drawing level with the German great as 7-time world champion. Be sure to catch the full Formula One report on tomorrow's show.
Drum. The roaring fans. Take a ride on the wild side with the Africa Report on ZiFM Sport.
No better place to kick off the Castle World Football Report than here on the continent, starting with the CAF Champions League. Egyptian giants Al Ahly beating Wydad Casablanca of Morocco 3-1 in Cairo on Friday night to reach this year's CAF Champions League final. Ahly, record 8 times African champions, secured their place with a 5-1 aggregate victory, having won the first leg 2-0 in Casablanca last weekend. Barry Menandi, it was supposed to be close, this one, but in the end, it was no contest.
It was a no contest, and having seen the highlights of this game, the intensity with which Al Ahly approached this game showed me hunger. It showed that Pitso Mosimane has certainly, if for nothing else, if we don't judge his tactics or anything else, he's put a fire in the belly of those players.
Okay, let's go to South Africa, and it was the opening weekend of the DStv Premiership, and the big game that got proceedings underway was Kaizer Chiefs playing host to the champions Mamelodi Sundowns, another one which we thought was going to be close, Alois, and it ended in a 3-0 drubbing for Kaizer Chiefs.
Yeah, Mike, I think it was actually surprising that the Kaizer Chiefs lost 3-0 to Mamelodi Sundowns. The coaching committee actually did well. So we don't know now whether they are doing it right or not. We have to wait for other matches to see, but it was not expected for Kaizer Chiefs to lose 3-0. It was a big scoring margin and nobody expected that. Everybody after Kevin Ankem, they thought that this is actually a championship winning team. But we are doubting now. Let's see what happens in the next few games.
The rest of your results from South Africa: Bloemfontein Celtic and Golden Arrows, Abafana Westende 1-0 draw. Baroka got off to a banging start, 2-1 win over Maritzburg United. Cape Town City and Chippa United played a 1-0 draw, as did the Amazulu and Orlando Pirates. Ezika Magebola SuperSport United too good for Black Leopards 2-0. Swallows and Stellenbosch 1-0 draw, and then Chakuma Madzi Vandila, Barry Manandi's favorite team, they were held to a 1-0 draw by TS Galaxy.
From Rufaro to Barberfield, Mandava to Nyamunga, all the perfect moments in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League come together on ZiFM Sport.
Let's go to Spain now. In La Liga, there was one show in town, and of course that's the Clásico. Zinedine Zidane insisting he was unfazed about silencing Real Madrid's critics after recording a 3-1 Clásico win over Barcelona. After Ansu Fati cancelled off Federico Valverde's opener, Sergio Ramos scored a 63rd minute penalty, and Luka Modric sealed Madrid's win at the Camp Nou. Mike, another one that we have to say that, look, we expected it to be a lot tighter than it ended up being. Obviously 3-1, a little bit complimentary to Real Madrid, but certainly a high-quality, entertaining game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought Real Madrid, I think, showed that they've got more experience and they've got more quality than Barcelona at the moment. Barcelona were well in the contest, especially in the first half, created chances. They troubled Real Madrid now and again. But as the second half progressed, I think Real Madrid showed their quality, and we also the difference that Sergio Ramos makes. You know, when he's in the side, they're a different team altogether, and he won that penalty, very dodgy penalty. I mean, I must say the match turned on that decision. That was a poor decision. There's no way you give that as a penalty, even though there's a slight tug on the jersey. The guy dives in the wrong direction to where the tug is supposed to be going. So I thought that that decision by VAR is a decision that Barcelona didn't need, because they were hanging on at that very moment. And so once that was given, Real Madrid went 2-1 ahead. There was always going to be just one winner in this contest, and Real Madrid then scored the third that sealed the victory. Fantastic goal from Luka Modric.
Yeah, and Chris, it seems like heads dropped immediately after that decision, and I quite rightly agree with Mike that sort of turned the game, a game that up to that point was absolutely fantastic.
It was absolutely fantastic, and it was neck and neck, literally. So just that switch from the time that dodgy penalty is given, and you almost see a change in color, a change in pace in terms of Barcelona's performance. And it's no surprise that Luka Modric then scores another goal to make it 3-1. And after that, I don't think there was any kind of coming back that Barcelona was going to mount.
Alois, I want to talk to you about Atletico Madrid. They beat Real Betis 2-0 at home, thanks to goals from Marcos Llorente and Luis Suarez, after coach Diego Simeone sprung a double change at halftime. That certainly was the tonic for that win. I want to specifically talk about Luis Suarez. He has been phenomenal for Atletico Madrid, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. You know, I think some of it, you know, is the motivation that he has moved across from Barcelona. You know, sometimes when you go out of your camp with bad vibes and bad feeling, and you are staying in the same country, you just want to prove your point. And I think this is what Luis Suarez is doing. I think he's trying to prove his point that he is still good enough.
4 goals in 5 games, Mike. Not a bad return, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Good player. And you could see in El Clasico that Barcelona could have done with his services, because Barcelona lacked bite in the central striker's position. I think if they had a better player, a player with a bit more presence, who could have troubled Sergio Ramos a bit more, and then they would have had Messi on the right and Fati on the left, I think it would have been more of an even contest, or Barcelona might actually have had a bit of bite to actually get over the line in this one. But I think they'll rue the day that they let Luis Suarez go. It was premature.
I think they're already ruining that day indeed. Let's give you the rest of your weekend La Liga results. Elche 2-1 over Valencia. Osasuna 1-0 over Athletic Club. Sevilla beaten at home 1-0 by Aiba. Alaves getting a 2-0 win over Real Valladolid on the road. Cadiz and Villarreal playing out a 0-0 draw. Granada 1-0 over Getafe. Real Sociedad 4-1 over Huesca. Remaining for us to ask Alois, who's your star of the week in La Liga?
My star of the week, I have to give it to Oyarzabal. He played a very key role at Real Sociedad. It might be a low-key encounter, but for me, I think that was actually the tonic that the team needed.
So to support your point, Alois, Real Sociedad are now top of La Liga after that 4-1 win over Huesca. Oyarzabal, of course, the star of the week in La Liga.
Heading into England for Premier League results from the weekend. Aston Villa going down against Leeds United 3-0. West Ham and Manchester City drawing 1-1. Crystal Palace with a 2-1 win against Fulham. Liverpool with a 2-1 win as well against Sheffield United. Wolves and Newcastle 1-1. Manchester United versus Chelsea. We expected a blockbuster of a match here, Mike, but it ended up just a damp squib.
Yeah, absolutely. I think after having been fed, the choice pieces of El Clasico earlier, we were anticipating that the English Premier League would throw up a humdinger of a game. But in the end, I think it was a clash between two sides and two managers that were consciously trying to avoid defeat. I think they knew the ramifications of what defeat would mean and the pressure that it would bring. So you could tell that there was no adventure. But though Manchester United admittedly fashioned out at least 3 chances where they forced Mendy, the Chelsea goalkeeper, to make some fine saves. But there really wasn't the gung-ho attacking football that we're expecting of two teams that feel like they can challenge for honours in England this season. I thought it was a really boring game, and in the end, hardly surprising it ended goalless.
Hardly surprising it ended goalless, but on the other end, speaking of actual surprises, Leicester City claimed their first away Premier League win at Arsenal as Jamie Vardy's late header sealed a 1-0 smash and grab victory at the Emirates Stadium. Barry, just taking a look at that goal, definitely a smash and grab goal, and it's going to be unfortunate that Arsenal have lost this match, but clearly there's a bit of work to do at Arsenal.
Yeah, look, and there's no surprises there, Chris, because in truth, we all know that Arsenal is a work in progress. And I think that Arsenal itself needs to accept that they're a work in progress. And then I think the results like this will be a little bit easier to stomach. That's not to take anything away from the Leicester performance, number one, and then number two, Brendan Rodgers' tactics. He got them spot on. He sat back, let Arsenal have the ball, have all the ball that you want, and we're going to hit you on the break. He held back Jamie Vardy until it was just right. When he threw him on, he knew that he would have space behind because Arsenal will be desperate to come forward. So absolute masterclass by Brendan Rodgers.
Speaking of Brendan Rodgers, let's hear from the Leicester manager.
Yeah, the boys were outstanding. Our idea, of course, is you're playing against top quality players, and you got to deny them space. And it's a lot of my teams always deny it at the top of the pitch, but you play against that quality and that speed. It's you're set up slightly different. So, and I thought the concentration, their idea in the game, the players, and of course we know we have quality and speed that will get opportunities, and I thought they executed it really, really well.
Alois, Brendan Rodgers there managing to create a tactical masterpiece and managing to get this smash and grab 1-0 win against Arsenal. But just on the other end, if you take a look at Mikel Arteta in terms of how he approached this game, he was left a little bit wanting.
Yeah, Chris, I want to agree with Barry. When you look at it, Arsenal, they are still work in progress, and obviously the tactics are not coming out right yet. When he brought in Partey, he said, I've got a plan for Partey. Partey has only played 2 league games now, and you want to give him the time. Even Arsenal fans, they need to accept that they are not a finished product yet. When they brought in Arteta, they didn't bring him to win the league this season. They brought him in to bring stability and sanity to Arsenal. So he is doing it slowly. Let's be honest, losing to Brendan Rodgers is not a bad thing, because he is a tactical coach. We all saw that. Leicester has been doing well these past 3 seasons. They are above Arsenal at ratings. When you're rating teams, they're above Arsenal. So it's okay. Let him continue. Let's see where he gets to. But let's accept that Arsenal are work in progress, and let's hope that they do well. But for now, they can accept to lose to Leicester.
Continuing with unexpected results, there was an upset. A rejuvenated Southampton moved up to 6th in the Premier League as Everton's unbeaten record was ended by a 2-0 defeat on the South Coast. Barry, this is a brilliant result for Southampton, but for Everton, that incredible streak has come to a crushing halt.
It has, and I think everybody expected it. We kept saying that it was early days. Let's see how Everton goes. I think their lack of strength and depth was exposed because they don't have anything coming off the bench. When they face a team that has a plan that's proving far superior on the day, you need to then call upon your bench to give you something extra. So for me, I don't think they've got that. Also missing Richarlison seems to be a big thing for them. They need him in that side for Calvert-Lewin to be effective. So I think it's a result that was coming, and that it came on the South Coast to Southampton is no mean feat, because Southampton themselves are playing some very, very good stuff under Hasenhüttl.
In a weekend of some surprising results, Mike, who would you say is the star of the week in the English Premier League?
Oh, Chris, it's got to be Harry Maguire. Absolutely fantastic.
Listen, Harry Maguire is a lover. He's a hugger. Okay, he loves to hug.
Yeah, it's Harry Maguire and VAR.
Just trying to give everyone a laugh. I think the star of the week in England picks himself, Bamford from Leeds. What a fantastic performance. Hat-trick versus Aston Villa, who had a perfect record. And if you take a look at the quality of the goals, the second and the third goal were absolutely fantastic. Here's a player who was questioned. People said he was not good enough to lead the line for Leeds or for a Premier League team, and yet he keeps defying the odds and he keeps lifting Leeds to higher levels. So Bamford, for me, the undoubted star of the week.
And if you happen to have him in your fantasy team, big congratulations to you. But taking a look at the Z Fantasy League, in first position, we have box-to-box Calvert, that's Terence Ngomani. In second place, Chawea Chipembe, that's David Sitole. And in third, Musololi Mutale, his team, Morsenal.
Alcohol may be hazardous to health if consumed to excess. The operation of machinery or driving after the consumption of alcohol is not advisable. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18 years.
Castle Lager is more than just beer. It's pure liquid gold, crafted from the finest local ingredients to deliver a taste that is somewhat dry, somewhat bitter, but never sweet. It's the taste that stood the test of time. It all comes together with a castle.
Right, let's wrap up the show, the Castle Lager World Football Report, with results from Germany as well as Italy. Let's start in the Bundesliga. Stuttgart and Cologne 1-0 draw. The same result between Union Berlin and Freiburg. Borussia Mönchengladbach won a 5-goal thriller at Mainz, winning that one 3-2. Bayern Munich imperious 5-0 victors over Eintracht Frankfurt. Lewandowski with a hat-trick in that game. Leipzig continued to go great guns with a 2-1 win over Hertha Berlin. Wolfsburg 2-1 winners over Arminia Bielefeld, and Werder Bremen and Hoffenheim played a 1-1 draw. Talking about Bayern Munich's challengers, Borussia Dortmund, they are keeping pace at the top of the table after recording a 3-0 victory over Schalke 04 in the Revia derby. The scorers, Erling Haaland, surprise, Manuel Akanji, as well as Mats Hummels from the centre-back position. Barry Menandi, Borussia Dortmund, of course, scoring big this time, 3-0, after they sort of like laboured to a 1-0 win over Hoffenheim, and they'll be expected to keep pace with Bayern Munich this season.
Yeah, made the derby look easy, and that's what you need to do. These victories are the ones that give you the license to compete, and I think that BVB did extremely well in the Revia derby. Also, goals coming from the usual suspect in Erling Haaland, and then Mats Hummels getting the all-important third off a very good header.
Any one of those players your star of the week?
No. I think in Germany he picks himself. You mentioned him earlier and you said that he got a hat-trick for Bayern Munich. What you didn't mention is that it was a perfect hat-trick. Left foot, right foot, header. Robert Lewandowski, he should be called.
Okay, let's go to Italy and your results. Benevento beaten by Napoli 2-1. Inter Milan with a 2-0 win over Genoa. Lazio were also victorious over Bologna 2-1. Whilst Juventus continued with their stuttering start to the season, they dropped points at Verona. It ended in a 1-0 draw. Chris, you've got to say that Andrea Pirlo is not enjoying the best of starts. And those that would argue in his corner will say that they're missing their best player in Cristiano Ronaldo.
Definitely missing their best player, who's apparently in trouble now, so it might take a little bit longer for them to actually get him back. But also he has called for patience. He's called for patience from the Juventus fans. He says he's going to turn things around. So we keep faith. It's still early on. Maybe he'll be able to turn this around.
And your star performer from the weekend?
My star performer from the weekend is Andrea Petagna. He came in the second half and scored his first goal for Napoli, which won them their match. So for me, it's Andrea Petagna.
Andrea Petagna, the star performer. But there's a big game in Italy tonight. Alois, your AC Milan, who are sitting at the top of Serie A, 100% record. They play against Roma at the San Siro. This game concludes action in week 5. You expect more of the same from Zlatan Ibrahimovic and his team?
Yeah, I'm expecting more. I've got a feeling, there is the air of positivity that is blowing around AC Milan. And I think that they will do the business against Roma and stay on top. There is just this feeling that this might just be AC Milan's year. They might be the team that is going to challenge Juve for the championship. I'm positive that this is going to be a very exciting season for AC Milan.
Okay, and of course their recent record supports Alois's positivity. They've got a very good record versus the Giallorossi AS Roma, having won their last 2 home games against the side from the Eternal City. So that's the big game in Europe tonight, and we'll be giving you the result of that one on tomorrow's edition of ZiFM Sport.
But Mike, Alois saying that he thinks that AC Milan is the one that's going to challenge Juventus is also an admission by Alois that Juventus is going to be there in the final title shake-up. So that's an interesting assertion in itself. Anyway, we're out of time. We got to go. We'll catch you tomorrow. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Manande, out.
And it's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
The biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.